comedians, man, we got some funny stories out there. We got some funny stories. And I think we were in a state of all the stories have been bad lately. So I just tell you a funny one. And I don't know if I've told this in the past or not, but this story is just so funny to me. So there was one time I had a show in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I don't know, the promoter, this is before I had like a good manager, a good agent. So I'm booking a lot of stuff on my own. I'm trusting that, this stuff, that the promoters are legit. This one wasn't. So I get this call. This guy says, hey, why don't you come to Chattanooga? We book it, send half the money. He sends half the money. So now, okay, I'm going to play the date. So my dumb ass drives to Chattanooga. I'm thinking Chattanooga is like Nashville, like 4 hours. No, it's like 6 from Cincinnati, 6.5. I get a speeding ticket on the way down to Chattanooga. So I'm like, damn it. So now this is going to cost me money. I get down there. I got down there the night before the show, and I'm walking around Chattanooga, and nobody's talking about the show. And I'm decently popular, but this is probably 2008, 7. Like, I'm cool, but not where I'm at now. And so I'm like, dang, nobody knows I'm here. And at that time, you had to buy radio ads. I'm not hearing shit on the radio. The only show I heard about was Cheryl Underwood was coming, like in 2 weeks. I heard no commercials of the show. It was me and Michael Blackson was on the show. And a couple up-and-comers, but it was me and Michael Blackson. They were selling the tickets. The comedians they were using to sell the tickets. And I'm asking the dude, like, I'm literally talking to a promoter when I get in town, like, yo, I don't see no promos for this. He goes, nah, I got you. He takes me over to his clothing store. He's got this ghetto-ass clothing store. I go in. So he got the little poster on the window, and he got flyers at the counter. I said, you got a street team? He goes, yeah, we're just, I think my cousin and stuff are passing them out. And I'm like, dude, I don't think nobody knows I'm in town. I'm talking, we're going to a soul food restaurant. They don't know I'm there. We went to a nightclub. Nobody knew I was in town. This is all the night before the show. I got a bad feeling about this show. Michael Blackson comes in the next day. And I guess Michael Blackson had met with this promoter and sold him that you could make a lot of money off a comedy show. So this guy was a first-time promoter, didn't have a lot of money, and he basically mortgaged his life savings on this show, from what I gather. So when I get there, I'm supposed to get half my money before I go on stage. So he gives me, and I'm making numbers up. Let's say I did the show for $2,000. So he sent the $1,000 a month in advance to lock me in. So now we're on the night of the show. He gives me $500 in cash. So I'm like, well, I'm supposed to get $1,000 a night. He goes, and he writes me a personal check for the other $500. So I've gotten 75% of my money, but I'm short the other 25%. So usually comedians can make a stand here, like, I'm not going up, go get the money. But it's Saturday night. Banks are closed. I don't know if you can get the money at the ATM. Now I got to make a choice. Don't go up, but I did get 75% of my money, or go up, and hopefully this check doesn't bounce, and he's good for it. I decided to go up. When I tell you, this theater held 2,000 people, 20, maybe 30 people in this theater. I never experienced nothing like this. You ever gone up in front of an empty theater? It's, oh my God. It's like, what happened? I could bring anybody. I could bring like, I don't know. I could bring somebody who works at CVS and somebody who works at Rite Aid and sell 20 tickets if I just promote it right. And I'll go, so we do the show, and that's when I find out. The guy tells me, Michael Blackson told me, man, all they got to do is rent the venue out. Our names will sell this out. And I was like, okay. Blackson sold you up the river. So I drive back to Cincinnati the next day. That check bounced so high, it's still going up. Like, my bank called, yeah, that check bounced. And I literally warned him when I deposited. I don't know. I was with the small bank at that time in Cincinnati. I said, I don't know if this is going to go through. And my banker called me. She goes, that's what she said. She goes, Gary, it's still going up. It's never come down. That's how high it bounced. And I was like, dang, I had a feeling. So I want to call this dude and cuss him out, right? So I said, nah, I'm going to be cool. So I had my ex, Kenya, call him. Because I said, Kenya, I'm going to snap on him. So if you're a woman, use that woman femininity stuff and try to finesse the money out of him, because I'm irate right now. I'm looking like this. she calls him, and then she gets off the phone and she goes, Gary, I thought I was going to call and go off on him. She goes, I feel so bad for him, and I'm not lying. I told him, don't worry about it. I said, you did what? You did what? She goes, I told him, don't worry about it. She goes, this is what he just told me. He said, Michael Blackson told me he could do this show. He's a small business owner. He owns his clothing store in Chattanooga. It's not making a lot of money. He took all these loans out for this show, and I'm guessing who knows what the overhead was, but I don't know what the theater cost, what he spent on promotion, and what he paid me and Michael and the other. I think there was one other opener. Could have been a lot of money to pay the other opener, but he basically said he's now he thinks he's got to file for bankruptcy. He's got to sell his clothing store, and he's moving back to Atlanta and with his mom. He lost everything on the show. I was like, what? And Kenny goes, and I believe him, so we're just gonna let it go. And I was like, oh. I was like, so that was the Chattanooga story of the first-time promoter that didn't know how to promote, that I did get 75% of my money, but here's the bad part. That speeding ticket took me over the edge with my insurance. That was like, I had a bad run there that year. I've had like 3 speeding tickets in 1 year, and so now my insurance went up. So that show, I'll probably lost money in the long run because I had to pay the fine on the speeding ticket. My insurance went up just a little bit that I had to pay off until I stopped getting speeding tickets, stopped having a lead foot. That happens with age. You start driving slower. And but I met Brad, who's still my good friend to this day, who also came to my award ceremony the other night. So I appreciate you coming in, Brad, for it. That's what I said. I got good friends. So I ended up meeting one of probably my better friends in life because of that show in Chattanooga. And I think he was helping Michael Blackson on that show. But we just started talking and connected. So I guess it was worth it. And I hope that guy, whoever you are, and if you're hearing this podcast, I hope you're on your feet now, bro. It's one thing to get ripped off on purpose. When I called him, that's what happened. I did call him, and I got on the phone, and I said, hey, your check bounced. And he goes, oh, man, I thought that might happen. I was like, what? That's when I was like, I think I gave the phone to Kenya. I said, Kenya, talk to him. I can't. And then listen, it's hard to get mad at somebody that just owns it. Because here's the thing. I didn't lose. Well, I guess I did lose money with the speeding ticket, but I didn't make as much money as I thought I was going to make. But clearly I didn't get ripped off either because the guy sold 20, maybe 30 tickets. So in the end, I made a little money. Michael Blackson made a little money. The guy that lost was the promoter. But he tried. He just didn't know what he was doing. So now that I'm older, a little more level-headed, I look back on that show and I'm like, man, that had to suck to be that dude. He just didn't know what he was doing. He just thought, get the venue, hire the comics, and the show sells itself. And some people that works. You bring Dave Chappelle, you bring Kevin Hart, you bring Joe Coy, that could work. But not me and Michael Blackson in 2008. That's not going to work.